What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Reply, the show where we do the thing where we respond to your things with our own things, and that all comes together in this nice compilation of things. Intro time!
This is a show where you leave comments, then we go and read your comments, then we respond to those said comments. Leaving comments, Reply!
XD. Alright, so the first video we're going to be talking about this week is the Destiny's Bounty review. Gonna try to go quick here with all of these comments. We're gonna try to keep this this video a little shorter. Prentice1215 says, uses the actual nautical name for the sextant and stern, but calls the helm a steering wheel. Can't win them all, I suppose. I mean, I don't pretend that I know a lot about boats and ships and stuff. I just, I say what I picked up from Pirates of the Caribbean, and that's about it.
Savvy.
Mythgard, whatever else I'll try to do. What a name. Says, knowing Ninjago is 7 years old makes me feel old. Yeah, well, how about knowing that Bionicle is 16 years old? That makes you feel old, buddy. That makes you feel old. The fact that I am a fan of something that you probably weren't alive for makes me feel very, very old. Next video is the news video on the new Garmadon set coming out this year for Wave 2. Rebellious Robot says, it said Garma news earlier. Okay, so this is actually been getting very frustrating. So YouTube has been doing this annoying thing where it will post the work in progress title that we have for our videos. So like if I'm editing a video and I save it as Garma news.wmv or something, no one uses WMVs, .mp4, for whatever reason, despite me changing the title before the video goes public, it will still send it out to all of our subscribers with Garma news as the title. So you guys might have noticed that the the other review, the Mech Dragon review, said for the love of God, because I had re-uploaded that video 6 times because something kept messing up in the render. So I was very annoyed, and people caught that. Bookleman says, also FYI, I believe those toe pieces are those weird and kind of rare crane elements. They are, in fact, they are not new, as I said in the video. Of course, I didn't really say they were new. I said they were new to me, so I've never seen those pieces before, but they do exist, and you can get them elsewhere, so that's pretty cool. Steven Villeman says, I only see 6 minifigures in the images. Where is the alleged 7th one? There's only 6. I just don't know how to count. That's all. Next up, we've got Brickfeed, episode 74. Here's a comment from Toby Ekazep, another great Brickfeed episode. Dude, shout out to Toby Ekazep. He's been with us for a very long time, and he's always a really positive guy. I think we don't really ever focus on the positive comments that we get sometimes. There are some dedicated people out there on the channel that always leave positive comments, and it makes us feel great and helps us definitely keep making videos. So thanks again, Toby. Zachmaster014 says, you guys are kind of underselling how well the Lego Batman movie did. Did it underperform? Yes, but it still made around 300 million. It was a big hit. Also, thank you, X, for sharing what I presume is the hate-selling video. Illumination is just full of complete slimy, awful people. So here's the thing. 300 million is obviously a lot of money, but is that a hit? Not really. Like, let's take the average of the animated movies from like the past 3 years, right? So like that's you know, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Storks, Finding Dory, for instance, which made a ton of money. Obviously that's a Pixar movie, so big thing right there. But like The Secret Life of Pets, and you average out all of those, you're still looking at about like 516 million as your average for all of these movies, for animated movies for the past 3 years. So that's 500 million. So yes, 300 million is a lot, but it is underperforming. Your average is going to be about 500 million. Now, obviously, you've got your big hitters like Despicable Me 3 and Finding Dory, which kind of, you know, pull that number upwards, right? There's definitely a lot more animated movies that are going to be in the lower tier than there are in the higher tier, and the ones that are in the higher tier are very, very successful. But even still, 300 million is not a hit. You know, that's not really a hit. It's very much average. It's below average, in fact. So it's not like that did a great job, and it underperformed, especially when compared to the Lego movie. And if you go and look at different sequels tend to do better than their original ones. So it is it's not a good trend that the Lego movie has now decreased when it came into the sequel territory. And with the Lego Ninjago movie at its current budget, or its current box office, not looking great for Lego movies. Next video is Art Farts, our Star Wars edition one. Omar Gameplay says, Fwef's icon is so odd. Why is her hair short? It's a weird question. Her hair is short because her hair is short. You think that would kind of click there. This is what Fwef looks like now. So, yeah, her hair is short. Her icon is accurate to her appearance. Ethan Morgan says, this series is my favorite thing on the channel. Well, thank you very much, Ethan. I'm sure Purple is happy to hear that. I'm glad that we've got a bunch of different shows that people come to this channel for. I think there's definitely there's a lot of varied content in our channel currently. I'm pretty happy with that. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff for everybody here. One thing I wanted to point out for art farts that I found really, really cool is that there are people out there who draw along with us. And they'll post that on Twitter and stuff, like their own art. That I think that's really fascinating and very cool. It's really cool to see people are actually kind of playing the art farts game along with us. It's really, really neat. All right, brace yourselves, everybody, because it's Brainstorm, the Takua episode. Here we go. Dark Nova 3529 says, just give the kid a different name. So this is very much kind of I think a general consensus for the comments for that episode. I think that people are kind of missing the point. The argument isn't so much about Takua and what name this character in this one snippet of their story should be called. It's more on the fact of which names can we use from G1, and should it be how specific do we need to stay with what happens to that character in G1? So can we not use this name if it doesn't hit these story beats, for instance? So if Takua in our G3 doesn't become Takanuva, are we allowed to call him Takua? I think we are. And the argument was based around whether or not we should really it was based around, should we act like the name Takua is important because we as the authors feel like it's important, or because the audience feels like it's important? That's really what the argument was about. It's more about whose opinion outweighs the other, the audience or the writers. So it's not really so much about Takua. A lot of people were assuming that it was about Takua. It's not about Takua. This argument could be about literally any other character. In fact, we've had this argument before with Helrix and Tuya. So Anders 9009 says, to be honest, I don't think you're handling the 7th Toa very well. Thinking about it, I'll extend that critique to the Toa in general. Toa were alien, external, and represented medicine in Greg's story. There are mysterious, holy entities that were revered by every Matorn on the island, in the same way that 7th Toa was a step above that. It was a plot twist that the Toa was Takua all along, and not another entity from the sea. Here's the 7th Toa is just another Toa with another element instead of a near-holy powers of the Toa of Light. While I get that you want to use light and darkness as a modifier, but the 7th Toa needs some more fundamental power that is not just another element. They need to be the Avatar instead of a metal, blood, lightning bender. Sure. I mean, it's not so much that... I mean, I don't feel like we're doing it wrong, per se. I think we actively don't want to tell a story that has already been told before. So we're trying to take elements from, the past Bionicle generations and do our own thing. If we wanted to just retell the whole medicine plotline that was in G1, then there's no point in writing the story at all, because you already have G1. You can just go back and read G1 books and everything if you really want that story. We don't want to just retell a story that was already told, so we're doing our own thing with the ideas but presented by the Toa. That's not to say that we aren't addressing some type of holy semblance with the Toa. I mean I believe that there's more of a focus on the divinity of a Toa more in our pitch than there is in G1. So I don't know, I think it's a matter of opinion, really. Telekon says, I guess I don't understand the disdain some of the cast has for the connection to G1. References to the original Bionicle don't bother me, and I think that they can be there without putting forward a complete rehash of the original Bionicle story. Once again, it's not a disdain for Bionicle G1. Obviously, if we didn't like Bionicle G1, we wouldn't be doing a Bionicle reboot. We like Bionicle. Everybody here likes Bionicle. We, as the writers, are fans of G1. That's why we're borrowing elements from G1. The point is, though, that we don't want to just retell G1. We don't want to just remake G1 because there already is a G1. If there was actually going to be a Bionicle reboot made by LEGO, the concept of them simply taking things from G1 and just supplanting them into their G3 without any kind of changes is pretty, I mean, it's incorrect. That wouldn't happen. So you have to be able to remix this to a new audience, new people, because by the time a hypothetical G3 were to come out, most of the people who followed Bionicle G1 would be in their 30s. You know, it's not like these are the people who are going to be tuning in on Cartoon Network to watch a new Bionicle TV show. So you have to be able to reimagine these elements for a newer audience, for a younger audience, for a different generation of people, and be able to do so in that it's a new, fresh new take on the story. Raptortown says, this episode just gives me a painful reminder of why the old Brainchronicle episodes were such a drag. I wish you could figure out ways to get to the point without 30 minutes of screaming. As far as the Takua thing's concerned, I don't like Takua enough to even bother with giving him an important role, and the Kid Appeal relatable character could help ground the story a bit. I don't know. I agree with you on the last part. I think, I feel like the role that he currently has is a decent enough role that kids would find relatable, and also one that I think harkens back to his original G1 character before he became Takanuva. With that said, I think it's a little naive to expect that every single episode of Brainstorm is going to be a big progression in terms of where we are. So, like, there are obviously times where we're going to be brainstorming where we're going to make tons of strides and lots of great ideas and move forward and jump forward a lot. And then there's going to be episodes where we're not going to do that. In fact, we might take some steps back. That's just how the creative process works. So that might be frustrating to listen to, but that's simply the reality of the situation. And I think it's you can't really expect that every episode is going to be a home run in terms of ideas. And also, I feel like there is a larger proportion of great discussions where we move forward than there are episodes where we take a moment to argue about something. I think there's really only 2-3 arguments that come to mind when it comes to, like, really big debates that last lengthy amounts of time. So I don't know. I don't really feel like the criticism is all that fair. Chris Harold says, this is the most pointless episode of Brainstorm. I disagree. I actually think it was a very, very, very beneficial episode of Brainstorm. It's a conversation that we needed to have. Regardless of whether you found it interesting or not, when it comes to the usage of characters and how we are going to implement them into the story, if they're from G1, it's very important to have that kind of knowledge, you know, locked down. We need to understand what we can and can't do with characters from the older Bionicle generations. That's important, especially now that we're sitting down and actually writing the story. This is where this matters the most. So I think it might not be the most interesting thing, but is it important? Yes. Is it pointless? Not at all. It's definitely not pointless. Next up is TTV episode 267, the Friday the 13th episode. Joshua Shim says, love the intro music. Where is it from? I'm not exactly sure which intro music you're talking about. It could be the TTV, the podcast intro music, like the rock and roll one with the guitar. Vin made that. It's called Hard Cotton. It's our theme song we've used for years now. We don't have an official song for Brainstorm just yet. Or you could be referring to the logo highlight, the intro reel that we have before every video. In which case, that's actually a remix of Hard Cotton by Vin, and it is made by Kazapar, another member of TTV who does music for us sometimes. So both of those are versions of the same song, and they are both made by us. So yeah. Kale says, was this video demonetized? I think Maneater Var is pretty advertisement friendly. No, actually, it wasn't demonetized. Surprisingly enough. There are other videos that have been demonetized that weren't that one that are very surprising. The episode, I think we mentioned it in that episode, but the one where we talked about donuts was demonetized. I suspect it's because the algorithm that Google uses thinks the donuts in the thumbnail were, I don't know how to put this in any other way, but sweaty, naked bodies. But they're just donuts. Regardless, that is that's the most recent example of a podcast episode where literally, like, anything can get your video demonetized. It doesn't actually have to be advertisement friendly or not. It's whatever the algorithm thinks is not advertisement friendly. Takanui Nuva. What a name, buddy. Okay. Have Web and Purple ever been on a podcast together before? Yes. Yes, quite a lot of podcasts, actually. In fact, I believe Purple's very first podcast Fluff was on. So, yeah, that's definitely not a first time. They've been on a lot of podcasts together. All right, guys, it's time for the bonus round. Here we go. I die a little when I hear the word Bionicles. The worst dong ever. I love Legochima, you coward. You suck, idiot! I'm living in Germany. go the strong cold C3PO, and I docend knew it was rare. He docend knew it was rare. Please take this video down.
You say the Iron Man thing every video on this bionic Calceriris.
Oh my gosh! It is exactly like the Valley of the Maze! No. CCBS ruined Bionicle! No! And guys, that's gonna wrap up this episode of not Brainstorm. And guys, that's gonna wrap up this episode of, what is this show called again? Alright guys, that's gonna wrap up this episode of Reply. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know this one wasn't that funny of an episode, so, yeah, that's your humor for this week. I hope you liked it. I tried really hard. Tune in next week for another exciting episode of Reply. And we will reply to your replies with our own replies. So be sure to leave a reply to this reply video so that I can reply to it, whether in the video with my own reply comment or with the reply video where I'm replying to all your replies through a screenshot of replies. Bye.